Militarization of police involves the use of military equipment and tactics by law enforcement officers. This includes the use of armored personnel carriers, assault rifles, submachine guns, flashbang grenades, grenade launchers, sniper rifles, and special weapons and tactics teams. The militarization of law enforcement is also associated with intelligence agency-style information gathering aimed at the public and political activists, and a more aggressive style of law enforcement. Criminal justice professor Peter Krasker has defined militarization of law enforcement as the process whereby civilian police increasingly draw from and pattern themselves around the tenets of militarism and the military model. Observers have noted the militarizing of the policing of protests. Since the 1970s, riot police have fired at protesters using guns with rubber bullets or plastic bullets. Tear gas, which was developed for riot control in 1919, is widely used against protesters in the 2000s. The use of tear gas in warfare is prohibited by various international treaties that most states have signed. However, its law enforcement and military use for domestic and non-combat situations is permitted. Concerns about the militarization of police have been raised by both ends of the political spectrum in the United States, with both the right of center, Libertarian Cato Institute, and the left of center, American Civil Liberties Union, voicing criticisms of the practice. The Fraternal Order of Police has spoken out in favor of equipping law enforcement officers with military equipment, on the grounds that it increases the officer's safety and enables them to protect unarmed people, typically civilians and firefighters. Canadian legal expert Michael Spratt wrote, "There's no question that Canadian police sometimes look more like post-apocalyptic military mercenaries than protectors of the peace. Our police services have been acquiring more and more military toys, a dangerous trend that's gotten little in the way of critical analysis in the mainstream media. Growing numbers of Canadian police agencies have acquired armored vehicles in recent years. In 2010, the Ottawa Police Service bought a Lenco G3 Bearcat armored personnel carrier for $340,000, which has half-inch thick military steel armored bodywork, 50 caliber rated ballistic glass blast-resistant floors, custom-designed gun ports, and a roof turret." The G20 protests in Toronto in 2010 showed that the militarization of protest policing is not only occurring in the United States. Police used a sound cannon, or long-range acoustic device, a weapon that was developed for use in conflicts in the Middle East, as well as barricades, preemptive arrests and riot units. According to Kevin Walby, an assistant professor of criminal justice at the University of Winnipeg, the more interesting aspect of the militarization of the police is actually on the strategy side. Police are increasingly training with military-style tacticians, especially when it comes to situations like crowd control and, increasingly, surveillance. In June 3, 2015, it was reported that RCMP officers have started openly carrying submachine guns on Parliament Hill as part of a visible increase to Parliament Hill security following last October's terrorist attack in 2014. Conservative Senator Vern White, a former RCMP officer and a former Ottawa police chief, states that some RCMP officers guarding Parliament Hill against potential terrorist attacks should be armed with rifles similar to those carried by Canadian troops in Afghanistan. The more powerful Colt C8, popular with police tactical teams and Canadian and other NATO alliance troops. White argues that the C8 carbines would give officers a much longer shooting range than the short-barreled MP5 submachine guns. The RCMP is issuing more than 2,200 C8 carbines to its officers, but the RCMP has not indicated whether the C8s will be issued to Parliament Parliament Hill. Officers. Brazil. In 2013, Brazil saw countrywide demonstrations protesting a lack of basic services while the country was spending billions on the World Cup and the Olympics. The unprepared and overreacting police forces responded in a way that shocked the largely middle-class protesters. The police, using non-lethal weapons like pepper spray and rubber bullets while dressed from head to toe in ninja-like full battle gear, indiscriminately arrested both violent Black Bloc demonstrators, known for their confrontational tactics and anarchist views, along with non-violent protesters marching peacefully. As a result, calls for demilitarization of the police, from social movements, non-governmental organizations, and even segments of the police itself, became widespread and remain one of the legacies of the World Cup. The Brazilian military police today, while not officially a wing of the armed forces, remains an institution with a strict military hierarchy, training that retains a military ideology, and practices that frequently resemble occupying forces conquering enemy territories. Colombia. Since 1999, an $8 billion program in Colombia has seen the mass deployment of military troops and militarized police forces to both interdict illegal drugs and counter left-wing guerrilla groups. This assistance promotes militarization to address organized crime. Due to these U.S. policies, civilian forces have increasingly received military training, leading to concerns over human rights violations and excessive use of force, as well as a lack of knowledge over how to deal with local protests, concerns startlingly similar to those now coming out of Ferguson, Missouri. Mexico. Mexico's new national police force, the Gendarmeria, is partially staffed with active duty soldiers, part of a long-standing trend towards militarization of the country's federal police. Indonesia. Indonesian militarized police are often deployed to mass gatherings, especially in areas with ethnic conflict, such as Papua.